There is no good without bad, the same way there are no superheroes without villains. The bad guy, or girl, is a necessary part to the comic book equation, especially when it comes to the big screen, where a formidable opponent can make or break a movie. Since Marvel movies have been steadily the best and the most popular movies in recent history, it's only right that we examine the top foes to go up against the heroes we know and love. Welcome back to The Binger. This is the most powerful Marvel villains from the movies ranked. This list features some of the meanest, baddest, and most ruthless villains to ever grace a movie screen. It's basically the opposite of Ben Kingsley's portrayal of the Mandarin. First appearing on screen in 2014's Guardians of the Galaxy, and then again in 2019's Captain Marvel, Ronan the Accuser is one of the toughest villains in the entire MCU. In the former, he's a Kree fanatic whose family was killed in the Kree-Nova War. He refuses to listen to his Empire's peace treaty with the Nova Corps of Xandar and instead goes off on a genocidal spree of horrible proportions against all Xandarians. He's also an important player in the whole MCU timeline, as it's Ronan who acquires the mystical orb containing the Power Infinity Stone for Thanos. Only, he doesn't quite deliver it as planned, instead opting to double-cross the Big Purple Titan, more on that guy in a bit, and use the stone for himself to annihilate Xandar. The character was also featured in Captain Marvel, which was set years prior to Guardians. In that movie, Ronan works alongside the Star Force, hunting Skrulls across the universe. If there's one thing that's consistent about this guy, it's his passion for his Kree heritage. He hates Xandarians so much that it's actually kind of his only real weakness. He's incredibly strong and a straight-up threat against anyone in the universe in one-on-one combat. He's only defeated in Guardians when the entire team works together and manages to use an Infinity Stone against him. While this list is mostly comprised of physically dominating adversaries, it's the ones who use their brains over brawn that are truly scary. Despite being human, it's almost more impressive what Helmut Zemo is able to accomplish without any super strength or magical abilities. He was able to cause catastrophic damage with just his intellect. It was Zemo who masterminds the civil war between Tony Stark and Steve Rogers. Knowing he could never compete against the Avengers in a battle of strength or combat, he instead outsmarts them and devises a plan to pit them against each other. This drives a massive wedge between the entire Avengers group and lasts for several movies. While some villains have galactic abilities that stretch the imagination, Zemo earns his spot by being just a really conniving instigator. The results of his efforts are actually more damaging than any sort of warrior or sorcerer could have done. Ultron was originally an artifact intelligence mechanism created by the good guys to help protect the planet. Thanks to the Mind Stone, this artificial intelligence became sentient and essentially came to life. Tasked with the responsibility of protecting the planet, Ultron deciphered that humans were the #1 threat to Earth and needed to be eradicated. Honestly, this whole premise begs an interesting question. Can he really be that evil if his intention is to save the planet? It's no secret that humans can be harmful to the Earth, so he's technically not wrong and he's just doing what he's programmed to do. Maybe if we didn't use so many plastic straws, the whole ordeal could have been avoided. What makes Ultron such a threat is his ability to manipulate technology and control things like the world's nuclear arsenal. That and the fact that he's not actually a living being, and more so the result of terrifying artificial intelligence experiments. A sentient machine hell-bent on extinguishing humanity? That's scary, even for the Avengers. Ultron's spot on this list is solidified by the fact that he's the first villain in the entire MCU to take an Avenger's life, taking out Quicksilver and simultaneously cementing his legacy as one of the most powerful villains ever. Maybe this is just me, but I found Killmonger to be one of the most likable and endearing villains in the entire MCU. While his actions were questionable at times, his motives were kind of in the right place. He wanted Wakanda to open themselves up to the world and share their vast resources with other struggling nations. There was also the whole father-son backstory that tied T'Challa and Killmonger together. His motivation is what made him so dangerous. He had been stewing and plotting for a long time, so when he finally struck, he was ready. Through hard work, planning, and sheer determination, Killmonger is actually able to defeat his rival cousin and take over Wakanda. It's not just his strength, intellect, or combat skills that make him so powerful, but more than all of that, it's his sheer will to succeed. He's willing to sacrifice everything to reach his goal. Ultimately, Killmonger pays the ultimate price, losing to T'Challa in their rematch and sadly losing his life. He does not pass away in vain though, as T'Challa makes a slew of changes and opens up the idea of Wakanda joining the rest of the world. While Killmonger had some questionable tactics and was technically the antagonist of the movie, he also kind of dies a martyr, and his efforts lead to some really positive changes. everyone's favorite trickster. Loki is probably the most integral MCU character not to be included on the Avengers team. The Tom Hiddleston-played role first appeared in 2011's Thor and has popped up in a bevy of Marvel movies since then. While he eventually developed into more of an anti-hero, he started out as a full-fledged bad guy. He's super strong, super durable, super quick, and super skilled in combat. That makes him super dangerous. He's also a talented sorcerer, able to conjure up magical spells as well. What really makes him stand out as a top villain, though, is his intelligence. He's constantly up to something and trying to play someone for his own personal gain. Loki and Tyrion Lannister would get along famously as they both share the same kind of con man vibe. The God of Mischief has no solid allegiances, he's more of a join the winning team kind of guy. After all, he's only interested in what benefits him directly and has very little compassion or interest in good or bad. Part of what makes him such a powerful villain is his unpredictability. In fact, Loki is such a formidable foe, he was the reason the Avengers had to assemble in the first place. It was his attempt at conquering Earth that led to the group's formation. If being the reason for the Avengers to exist isn't enough to earn a spot on this list, then I don't know what is. Easily one of the most evil additions to this list, Johann Schmidt, also known as Red Skull, is one of the first bad guys to appear in the MCU. As the head of Hydra, Red Skull has some direct ties to the Nazi regime. This storyline hits so close to home because it's one of the few that incorporates in actual world events to the mix. While space monsters and mystical black magic are fun sci-fi themes, it's a whole other ballgame when we start talking about actual historical events and developing plot lines around those. When it comes to bad guys, it doesn't get much worse than the Nazis, and we don't need Stan Lee to tell us that one, we have textbooks. In Captain America: The First Avenger, Red Skull leads Hydra down its own path, breaking away from the Nazis to do their own thing and I guess be even worse? In the film, he attempts to utilize the Space Stone as a weapon, but it ultimately backfires on him and ends up destroying his entire plan as well as himself. We don't see Red Skull again until Avengers Infinity Wars, where he's been relegated to protecting the Soul Stone, cursed to protect the thing that he cannot have. Due to loving no one but himself, Red Skull was never able to claim the Soul Stone, thus making his one a seriously rough existence. When it comes to powerful characters though, Red Skull is tough to beat. I mean, he basically told Hitler to leave him alone so he could lead his own government. He told the most evil person in human history that things weren't going to work out because Hitler just wasn't evil enough for him. This is kind of a 2-for-1 entry because I think both villains from Doctor Strange deserve to make the list. Let's start with Kaecilius, a powerful sorcerer and former member of the Masters of the Mystic Arts who left to serve Dormammu. We'll get to him in just a second. Kaecilius was able to tap into the powers of the Dark Dimension, which allowed him to warp the environment around him. He was a formidable opponent for Doctor Strange and really only lost because of his own arrogance, otherwise Doctor Strange was no match for him. Now, there's also Dormammu, the Lord of the Realm of Darkness. Fun fact, Benedict Cumberbatch, who plays Doctor Strange in the film, actually also provides the voice for the Dormammu character and donned the motion capture suit for the role. In the movie, Dormammu wants to absorb as much of the universe as possible into his dark dimension. He, along with his zealots, are focused on merging his dark dimension with Earth, but Strange has other plans. In a truly brilliant display of strategy, Doctor Strange uses the Time Stone to trap Dormammu in an infinite time loop, forcing him to agree to a bargain. Good for Strange, because there's absolutely zero way he'd stand a chance against a being with apocalyptic levels of supernatural powers. He's immortal, he can give powers to others, and is undeniably one of the most imposing and powerful threats we've ever seen on screen. He just so happened to go up against Doctor Strange, who outsmarted the galactic being. It's no secret that Thor is considered one of the strongest beings in the known universe. He's a literal god with the ability to harness nature and defeat seemingly anyone in physical combat. Now imagine that guy's scary older sister. That's Hela. Watching her thwart someone as powerful as Thor with such ease means that she's hands down one of the most dangerous and most powerful villains in the MCU. Not only did she easily toss Thor into space and destroy his beloved hammer Mjolnir, which was otherwise thought to be indestructible, she also wipes out the entire Asgardian army without even breaking a sweat. Seriously, watching Hela destroy entire armies of qualified and skilled combatants was like watching Michael Jordan play basketball. It was just so effortlessly easy. Hela was Odin's firstborn, making her the older sister to both Thor and Loki. She can manifest weapons, conjure the dead, and has impeccable hand-to-hand combat skills. While she does rank high as one of the most powerful villains in the MCU, she may just be the most lethal. After helping her father in the conquest of the Nine Realms, he banished her due to her ambitious yet somewhat problematic behavior. She was too powerful and too war-hungry, so Odin had her sent to another realm. Upon her return, following the death of Odin, even her godly siblings were no match for her. It's tough to hate on Ego because the guy is just so gosh darn likable. I mean, isn't he just the epitome of someone you'd want to grab a beer and watch the game with? While that might seem charming at first, that's actually part of his arsenal. Once his true intentions are revealed, it's obvious that Ego is a major problem. While originally introduced as Peter Quill's long-lost father, we initially believe that he just wants to reconnect with his son. It's only a matter of time until we find out his actual plan, which is a lot more eyebrow-raising than you'd even imagine. Ego is, in fact, not even a man. He simply takes the form of whatever species he's interacting with. In reality, he's a celestial, meaning he's a cosmic being who's existed for billions of years. While it's true that he's the biological father to Star-Lord, he's also got a pretty bad god complex and wants to take over the universe. Throughout the film, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, the more we learn about Ego, the worse he gets. He's self-indulgent and self-centered to a psychopathic degree. All he cares about is himself and taking over as much of the universe as possible. Though he doesn't come off genocidal or particularly evil at first glance, he's probably exterminated more lives than any other villain in the MCU, excluding the Snap, of course. An immortal being, the only way he could be defeated was to destroy his brain, rooted at the core of the planet he built himself. Is there any surprise here? When you collect all the Infinity Stones and wear the Infinity Gauntlet, that means you wield a fair amount of power. Like enough power to erase, I don't know, half the known life in the entire universe with the snap of your fingers? Now that's powerful. While other villains may have spanned across multiple films or wreaked havoc for multiple decades or even centuries, nobody had the level of impact that Thanos did. He took on the entirety of the Avengers and actually won. Name me another superhero movie where the bad guy wins at the end. I'll wait. The only other name on this list who actually took out an Avenger was Ultron, but Thanos upped the ante tenfold, erasing a whole slew of notable heroes. Sure, he's got incredible strength, is skilled in combat, has top-tier intelligence, and is all-around dangerous in every way, shape, or form, but it's really all about those Infinity Stones. Those are the main reason why Thanos is such a powerful villain. As a matter of fact, he isn't just powerful, he has ultimate power. Like, it quite literally does not get more powerful than that. With a rep like that, it's no doubt that he is the #1 name on this list. He isn't even particularly maniacal or rabid either. His calm, relaxed, stoic demeanor is even more intimidating than some sort of raving madman. Thanos is collected and knows exactly what he's doing, and believes he's doing it for the right reason. Perhaps the most dangerous type of villain is the kind that thinks they're the hero. Do you agree with our assessment? Who would you rank as the most powerful villain in the MCU? Was there anyone left off the list that deserved to be on it? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop us a comment in the section down below and let us know what you think. Before you go, make sure to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to The Binger to stay up to date on all our latest releases. Until next time, thanks for watching.